campaign of bringing back our 8 veterans. 8 veterans who've been in Qatar for almost a year now, and they have been sentenced to death penalty. This for charges yet not known. Over the last 24 hours, Republic TV has been at the forefront, raising this entire campaign that the government should perhaps put more pressure on the Qatari authorities to ensure that our veterans who've contributed majorly in our country, they should be brought back. Tonight, over the next few minutes, we'll take you through some of the details that we've accessed, and also would be speaking to batchmates, coursemates of the Navy veterans. But up first, these are the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour. Big face-off as ex-Hamas leader virtually addresses Jamaat-e-Islami Hind rally in Kerala's Malappuram.
Hamas leader participated in a rally by virtual. Both the Congress party and the ruling CPIM is responsible for this such illegal activities going on in Kerala.
BJP slams left government in Kerala over Hamas rally, calls it vote bank politics by Pinarayi government. Congress politicizes India's position on terror. Government sources hit back, says no explicit condemnation in UNGA resolution. 8 Navy veterans sentenced to death by Qatar court. Republic leads Bring Back Our Men campaign as India demands justice. Parliamentary Ethics Committee summons Mahua Moitra for 2nd of November. BJP parliamentarian Nishikant Dubey alleges Mahua influencing witnesses. Co-founders of Ashoka University, Pranav and Vineet Gupta, arrested in parabolic drugs case. Well, a Qatar court has sentenced to death 8 Indian former Navy officers in an alleged case of espionage. Their families, who have been kept in the dark regarding the details of the case, are awaiting the safe return of their family members. While the government is leaving no stone unturned to bring back our men, the Indian government is exploring legal options in the case. A mercy plea has already been filed with the Emir of Qatar. India is demanding justice, and we at Republic TV are leading that campaign to bring back our decorated officers. And in this special broadcast, we would be joined by his coursemates in a short while from now. But as we bring our guest, introduce our guest, before that, ladies and gentlemen, let me just try and put this into perspective. What are we really talking about? We're talking about 8 Navy veterans, those who have contributed vastly to our country through their services. They are now behind bars. Just about a year ago, when they were called in for training purposes by the Qatari Navy through a private company, they were providing training, but suddenly they were placed behind bars. Till date, we do not know what are the real charges that have been leveled by the Qatari authorities. All that we know is that by way of sources, that there are charges of espionage. But what exactly are those charges of espionage? Till date, even the family members are not aware of it. Counsel access has already been provided, ladies and gentlemen, but the reality is this, that our Navy veterans were in solitary confinement in Qatari jails, but till date, no action has been taken. Why exactly are these charges that have been leveled? Remember, the CEO of this very company that the Navy veterans were working for, he too was released on bail. But our 8 Navy veterans are still behind bars. In fact, after much struggle, they've now been removed from solitary confinement. They're sharing space, is what we are given to understand, inside the jail. Let me see if we have a coursemate of Commander B.K. Varma, who's joining us. Commodore Mahendra Negi is joining us on this broadcast. He's a coursemate of Commander B.K. Varma. In fact, he's also known him since his NDA days, an association of 40 plus years. He also knows Captain Navtej Singh Gill and Commander Amit Nagpal. In fact, Commander Gill has served with him Nagpal was his junior and shipmate. Thank you very much, Commodore Negi, for joining us on this broadcast. Not very often do we really see serving officers really come out in the open and to talk about issues like this. But it is undoubtedly the ethos of our armed forces, where we've seen during need, you do see the family members of the Navy coming together. Commodore, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Over the last few days, we've been raising our voice on this entire matter. In fact, Commodore, just about a year ago, when I first interviewed one of the family members, I was absolutely surprised, shocked that there is no outcry to bring back our own men who are decorated officers who've contributed vastly to our nation. I want to begin by asking you your association with those who are now behind bars, for how long you've known them. I believe that some of them you've known for almost 40 plus years. Give us a sense of your association with those who are now behind bars. They are in Qatar.
Well, good evening. Out of the 8 who are there, 7 are officers, 1 is an ex-sailor, and I personally know most of them. In fact, out of all these, B.K. Verma, Commander Birendra Kumar Verma, I know him since the early 80s from National Defence Academy, a brilliant officer. He was academic distinction holder throughout, and also the Madras Trophy holder from National Defence Academy. Subsequently, in the Navy also, he was a topper in most of the courses. An officer who was a commissioning crew of Khanjar when it was commissioned, INS Khanjar, and then subsequently he was a training coordinator in the Naval Academy. Probably that is why the company had picked him up when he left the Navy to set up the Naval Academy, Qatari Naval Academy. He was the director training there, and he set up the syllabus. He set up the simulation complex, which was inaugurated by the Amir himself, and His Highness the Amir. And Birender, outstanding gentleman. He's a second generation Fauji. His father was also in the Navy. And similarly, Navtej Gill, his father was in the Army. And he's also served with me in Naval Headquarters, a brilliant officer. Again, Amit Nagpal was my shipmate, very quiet and very, I would say, extremely measured officer. So with all this, there were some of the best guys who were picked up, and the company was doing brilliantly well. Basically, they were having a contract for training the officer cadets and as also the other courses, including technical courses. They had plenty of officers. They had crew from many countries, but a majority were Indian. And out of all this, they had maintenance contract subsequently. They were doing so well that the Qatari Navy was so happy with them that they gave them a maintenance contract for some of the new ships which they were requiring. So what I know of is, as far as the officers are concerned, they were absolutely top-notch, good, very good human beings, very good officers, and professionally very, very competent to have delivered to Qatari Navy what they were delivering.
Commodore, I also want to ask you this, that over the last few months, I'm assuming that you must have spoken to the family members. Is there anything that you can tell us with regards to what is the condition of our veterans right now in Qatar? Do we know about their health condition? Because almost everyone would be extremely worried because they were in solitary confinement for several weeks put together. What's their condition now?
Sorry, could you just repeat the question?
Commodore, I was asking you that I'm assuming that you may have spoken to some of the family members of our veterans. Do you have any idea about their health condition? I understand that they were in solitary confinement for several weeks put together. Everyone would like to know. I hope our Navy veterans, the health condition is stable.
Well, this decision has obviously shocked them, and it has shocked everybody who has known these people. It was perhaps expected that when this judgment would come, they would be, let off of their charges, or there would be some sort of a smaller sentencing, which would be appealed again. It must be remembered that this is the case of the court of the first instance. That is the first court in which the case has gone. There is an appellate court above it, and there's one more court above it. And also that the currently India enjoys a very good position in the Gulf nations, excellent relations, even with the Qatari Navy. Training is there are exercises with them, there is an agreement with them, and with all this, we are all hopeful. I'm sure that with this position, the people who are responsible, officers who are responsible for handling this, are putting in their best and trying to get these 8 gentlemen back home at the earliest. However, we must say that the families are pretty shocked that the sentencing and the judgment went completely 180 degrees to their expectations. Most of them, these officers spent 25, 30 years in the Indian Navy and put in so much effort here, and now they were putting in effort here. And with this, there was a very good side outfall of this was the relationship which was developing between the trainee officers and the Indians who were teaching them. A lot of respect for the Indians because of their professionalism. And somehow, with this, all that is seems to have gone out. And another issue, as far as the human angle is concerned, all these officers are in their late 50s or nearing 60s. One odd, I think, Prandeep Tiwari is beyond 60. And with that, all of them have parents, either one parent or if they have both parents, they are very old and sick. Some of them have special children or siblings. And, they have children who are getting married, daughters getting married. All that has been handled by the ladies themselves. For the last 16 months, you wouldn't have seen them or heard the ladies anywhere. If Faujis are made of steel, the ladies are made of titanium, and they are handling everything, going for the court hearings to Doha and handling their families, their relatives, their in-laws, everybody, children, in a fantastic manner. And obviously, the strain and stress is quite a lot on them, and they are expecting a speedy recovery of these officers back to our home country.
Commodore, I just want to take one final question from you, is with regards to whether at all the family members have been able to get in touch with our veterans in Qatar. Has there been any sort of communication with them? And if so, how are they really doing right now? And what's the roadmap ahead?
So the basic expectations are that this will go to the appellate court. And in the next month, this would be appealed. And once that is appealed, hopefully the sentences would be, either the charges would be dropped or the sentences would be reduced. And then subsequently, there's one more appellate court, and then the Emir himself, the royal pardon from the Emir himself. So I'm sure those who are handling this in the government, I don't want to say anything, of which I'm not in the know of. And I'm sure those who are handling this are very, very competent, and they are very much up to it. In the services, the first thing that was taught to us 40 years ago was, we never leave a man behind. Never leave a man behind. And I'm sure between the services and the government, and especially the diplomatic side, they are going to follow this, and nobody is going to be left behind.
Well, thank you very much, Commodore Negi, for joining us on this broadcast and sharing the plight of the family members. We are certainly hoping that our campaign of bringing back our men successful, our veterans return home and they are safe with their family members. Prayers of everyone here from the Republic Newsroom. Thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Well, in yet another exclusive, our team also spoke to Commander Ajay Pratap Golia. He is the Corpsman of Navy veterans. Listen in to what he had to tell my colleague Harsha.
Yes, it has come as a complete shock. We were not expecting this kind of judgment, and I don't think there is any precedence anywhere in the world where 8 veterans who have served their country proudly have been awarded or tried like this anywhere in the world or in the history ever. So yes, we hope that everything is resolved and they come back fast. I personally know 4 of these officers amongst out of the 8. I have served with them, and they are extremely fine gentlemen, extremely fine. And like regarding your question about how they have served and how they feel for the country, anyone joining the defense forces is a proud Indian, and he joins forces only because he wants to serve the nation. So my friends also and other officers also have joined, maybe for the same reason.
Ajay sir, the charges have yet not been shared by the Qatari authorities, that exactly what the charges are. Don't you think this is the extreme step which has been taken by the Qatari authorities, and they're yet not making the charges public and exactly telling why this extreme punishment is being given?
Actually, I am not aware about the system of trial or judgment in Qatar per se, being in that part of the world. Each country has its own different laws and methods of trials. In our country, it would have been different. In their country, it is a different set of procedure. And nature of charges, most probably, which is coming out in the media, is that it is charged with spying. They charge with spying. Espionage, spying, same thing. But that also is a term which can be interpreted by different people in a different way. What I give as a normal information sharing, thinking that it is not really related to the security of the country, might be taken as being related to security of country by that government.
So do you think there are in this entire news, there are global technologies, there could be some connecting dots as well, which is still not in light? It would not be, our army, our navy veterans. It could be something else. Do you also feel that?
Initial impression when they were picked up, we all had this case of a business rivalry, because this contract which this company was running was a very, very big, I would say a big business sort of thing, and there could be a possibility that it is a case of business rivalry, and they wanted to remove that company and get someone else. Maybe. I'm not sure. I cannot comment on that. But it could be a possibility.
More thing, Gulaya sir. Now, what could be the legal process? Now, what could be done to stop this death penalty? Right now, they have been awarded capital punishment by trial court. What could be the further steps which the Indian government can take?
The Indian government, since I've been in touch with the various families and I know what the process is going on, Indian government and the MEA have been extremely supportive, I would say, extremely supportive. And whenever the families ask for an interview, whatever the help they required, it has been provided at every instance. Even we met, I think some of your family members, they met the Deputy Foreign Minister also, and Secretary in MEA, Joint Secretaries. Everyone has been very supportive. And it is with the efforts only initially the family started getting calls on a weekly basis. Then after some time they started getting a weekly visit to the husbands. And now I think the calls are twice a week. Twice a week calls and once a week a visit. So by the ladies who are there in Qatar.
On the other side, Parliamentary Ethics Committee summons Mahua Moitro for 2nd of November. BJP parliamentarian Nishikant Dubey alleges Mahua influencing witnesses. Co-founders of Ashoka University, Pranav and Vineet Gupta, arrested in parabolic drugs case.
As we report from inside Kafar Raza, we are showing you the horror of the Hamas terrorists, how they have unleashed terror here on the civilians. 63 people were killed by the Hamas terrorists, while more than 17 they have been abducted. That nothing here is left lively. They wanted to destroy everything, and that is what exactly the terrorists of Hamas have done. We are in one of the forward locations in the south of the Israel, and here the preparations are in full swing. How the troops are preparing for the ground battles. The tanks have been installed. The big Merkavas are here on the ground to totally wipe out the Hamas terrorists, and so does the regular briefings of the soldiers that are taking place here at the ground zero.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates: IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
As we report from inside Kafar Raza, we are showing
Year after year, extraordinary women have broken barriers, shattered glass ceilings, and fearlessly marched towards progress. Republic Media Network salutes this indomitable spirit of women who continue to inspire generations to come. Welcome to Techno Phantom V Flip 5G presents Women Pioneers of India in association with Republic TV. Fasten your seatbelts. With us is a trailblazer who has been burning rubber and has flipped the narrative when it comes to the world of motorsports. Joining us on the show is none other than Meera Erda, who is India's first female racer to win internationally in Formula 4. Let's take a look at her incredible journey. At the age of 9, Meera set out on a journey defying stereotypes and racing towards victory. From karting to the racetrack, Meera's journey is a beacon of inspiration for all aspiring racers. In a male-dominated arena, Meera raced against skepticism and adversity, but she never looked back. From a young enthusiast to India's youngest female professional racing driver, Meera didn't just break through barriers, she shattered them. Her journey is a reminder that dreams have no limits, just like the speed on the racetrack. Meera, welcome to Techno Phantom V Flip 5G presents Women Pioneers of India in association with Republic TV. Now, before we have a detailed conversation, and it's very interesting that we are sitting here right at this racing track to talk about your journey. A quick rapid fire round. Are you all set?
I'm very bad at rapid fires, but yeah.
So let's test you on that one. Okay. One race that you can never forget.
My first race win back in 2012 when I started last, and in 3 laps I overtook everybody. So that was one challenge.
One place you want to travel to.
Difficult, very difficult. Switzerland.
What's your favorite pre-race ritual?
I like to just sit into my car and just strap in, put my helmet on, and just like focus, have a conversation with my car. That's one thing. Feel one.
What's your favorite racetrack in the world?
The Bodh International Circuit is one of my favorite tracks to race on.
If not a racer, you would have been
an athlete for sure. I loved, like, ever since I was a child, I loved enjoying and playing sports. So maybe some other sport, but for sure an athlete.
Your dream team to race with?
Red Bull Racing.
Your favorite quote?
Never give up. Just keep your head down and focus.
One word to describe the feeling of being in a race car.
Home.
What's your go-to post-race meal?
Quite a lot. It depends from how the race has gone, but I love desserts. So you give me any kind of dessert, tiramisu, cake, I love dessert.
You were in your teens and you started competing professionally. You were on international platforms well enough to realize that this is a primarily male-dominated arena.
Yes.
What did you go through during this realization?
To be honest, when obviously I didn't see a lot of females there, I was like, there should be more females racing, because it's not just like, it is a male-dominated sport, but then if I can race, there can be other females racing as well. And at times I would be just sitting alone because the boys wouldn't talk to me. But, I just kept going. I was like, see, doesn't matter. Right now, there might not be a lot of females, but if I push through and if I make a mark and if I set the way for everybody else, at least in future, there'll be, much more easier times for females to race. And now when I see there are so many females racing in different categories, yes, there are still difficult times that they have to perform a lot more better and work a lot more harder. but that's the sad reality of not just our country, but in general around the whole world, around the whole community of motorsport, that females are not a majority in that. So we have to work hard, but then hopefully there will be a time in future that, you know, it will be equal. There'll be equal amount of females, but mentally there was a time when I was like, I have to work my best, like 200% extra to make sure that I am up there. At least I get my opportunities and make 100% use of those.
So, you know, as I understand it, it is obviously a skill that you hone. But what do you think are the qualities that a racer must have?
Most importantly is the focus. As soon as you get into your car, you need to know what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to drive, and have that alertness. Because we are racing at such high speeds and we're very close. It's very close racing. So one small mistake of yourself or somebody else might cause a serious accident, or, you know, might make you lose positions. So we have to be very alert in what we are doing and how we are, you know, putting our car, positioning our cars. So that's one thing which is really important for a race car driver. Then physical strength is very important, and just overall how you adapt quickly to situations. Even if the car is not good, there might be situations where you will have to push through, you will have to adapt and put yourself into a uncomfortable position, so that, you know, might not work right now, but in future you'll just be able to get a better result out of it.
Have there also been moments where you felt a sense of fear while you're racing at those speeds? Your parents may feel it. What does the family go through?
Well, I would say I was one of the lucky ones, where my parents were the ones who were more like, no, you know what, you're going slow, you need to go more faster. And that would, after a point, annoy me, because I was like, come on, dad, come on, mom, I'm doing my best. Now, how much more faster do I go? But now I realize that you know, constant nagging and that constant pushing me extra really helped me to break my barriers, obviously. But then there are points, you know, where I have myself, you know, not been scared about the speed, but been scared or just been anxious enough, like what's going to happen, like how is this race going to turn up, and all of those fears. But then, you know, if I let those come and take over my driving skills, I won't be able to perform my best, and I won't be able to get the results that I'm hoping for, because the whole team is working hard. It's not just me who's getting the results. So I have to just put all of those fears at the back of my head and just get onto the track and give my 100% every time.
I must say you have that razor sharp focus. Then again, you've been on so many tracks. Tell us about some of the high points that you've had.
I remember I was just 12 years old, and it was my first ever, you know, pole position that I had achieved in the pre-finals. And due to some technical reasons, I was disqualified and I was put to the back of the grid. Now, there were around, let's say, 12 or 13 drivers. I'm not really sure about the number, but then there were quite a few. And I had to start at the back, and I was really upset because that was my first pole. So the team told me that we are going to give you the best car possible. Now it's more like up to you what you want to do. Do you just want to enjoy the race, and do you just want to be a mediocre racer, or this is your point where you prove it not just to everybody else but to yourself that you can do it and you're meant for it. And that day I gave everything I had, and I still remember that day so clearly. In just 3 laps, I was up there fighting and, you know, overtaking all the drivers, and that laser focus was there. And, you know, I could see all my competitors being shocked that, okay, she started last and right away in just 3 laps, she's right here behind us and overtaking us. And when I won that race, crossing the checkered flag, I could just see it was my team and my parents who were really happy, jumping around. Whilst everybody else was shocked that a girl actually managed to do that. And that was one feeling that I always, you know, after that point, I was like, I want to feel this every time. I want to feel how I feel when I'm standing on top of the podium holding the first position trophy. And I also felt like, okay, this shouldn't be a shock every time that a girl, you know, manages to do something like this or pull off something like this. It should become normal. So after that is when I decided, okay, this passion needs to turn into profession, so that it becomes very normal after a point that even girls can race and they can win as well.
Meera, you're all of 22, and I'm sure that you also somewhere understand that given the exposure you've had, you're mentally ahead probably of a lot of peers.
Yes.
What are the life lessons that you've taken from racing that you've imbibed personally?
With racing, I matured quite a lot earlier than I was supposed to. I have to give my 100% in everything I'm doing. It just can't be one thing and the others have to be mediocre. So that really, helped me realize that, okay, life can change at any point of time. So you have to be at the top of your game in every part of it. And that's why even when I talked about studies, it was more like, okay, I have to at least have this benchmark for myself that, okay, this is a certain percentage that you have to achieve every time. So you figure it out however you want to, but you have to get until there. There might be setbacks, there might be, mishaps that might happen. So that happened in racing. That was one biggest lesson